So hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am your host Wamaidan Gigi, and this is Unfeigned. This is where we speak the unspoken and we speak it with boldness. Thank you so much for those who have subscribed. If you've not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do subscribe. Yes, here we speak the unspoken and we speak it with boldness. So today we are talking about mental illness. Mental illness is something that has had a lot of stigma. I mean, people don't want to talk about it because it's scary. How do you talk about things like suicide? How do you talk about things like going crazy, something of that sort? So basically today we are talking about that. We want to like eliminate the stigma that exists around mental illness. And the truth is, as much as we do not want to talk about it, many people are mentally ill, and I mean many people, and you should be concerned. I was reading a certain article by Dr. Kamau Kanyoro. In fact, it is this year's article, so it is updated, and he was saying that 1 out of 4 people in our country have been mentally ill at one point in their life. So that is around 25%. Yes, and 1 out of 5 people in our world's population have been mentally ill at one point in their life. So that is basically around 20 to 25%. That is a big number. I don't think even there is any virus that has affected such a big number. But mental health is quite complicated, and talking about it is, it gives chills. But today I want us to talk about it, and let me give a disclaimer. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I'm none of the things. So if you need to seek help, please seek help from a professional. So basically there are different kinds of mental illness. There is mood disorders, there is anxiety disorders, there is schizophrenia, which comes as a result of drug abuse. There are basically many different. There is psychotic issues, which are like bipolar, different kinds. There's dementia, those kinds of things. So those are the kinds of mental illness that exists in our society. But basically I do not want us to maybe major on that a lot. I want us to check the factors that lead to mental illness, so that we can at least know how to deal with it. We know, at least if you know the source or the cause of something, then you're able to deal with it. It's so different when you do not actually know how to deal with it, or you do not know the cause. So basically there are 3 kinds of factors. There is biological, there is social, and there is psychology. All psychological factors. Biological factors are basically genetic, ile mtu anapitisha from one gene to another. That is quite complicated. Then we have psychological. Basically it is basically in affect mind, like maybe neglect, or how your caretaker is treating you, maybe your parent or your stepmother or something, mtu mwenye anakupea, the caregiver, how they treat you, maybe emotionally or physically, that can affect you in terms of psychological. So those are some of the factors, and psychological factors: neglect and maybe caregiving. So, and then there is social. Basically they are the ones that are basically leading to depression. Mostly most of the people are becoming mentally ill as a result of the social factors. So basically that is what I want us to major on. Let's begin and let's do this. Let's talk about it. So number one of the factors is poverty. I mean, especially this coronavirus, it has affected a lot of us, na imetubounceisha bana, and many people have really been affected, and some people have really gone down, and there are people who had their lives well planned, they had everything, but now vitu zimebadilika. And poverty is one of the things that can lead to mental illness, because you're not able to meet your requirements, you're not able to meet the things that you basically need every day. So it can really lead to mental illness. So if you're going through a financial breakdown and you feel like you can become mentally ill, please seek help. If you need to talk to someone, please do. Another factor and another thing that can lead to mental illness basically is attention. And attention is quite complicated, and we think that children and teenagers do not actually become depressed, but the truth is they actually, in fact, they are more susceptible to becoming mentally ill, because they do not know how to deal with emotions. And attention can be one of the reasons for them to actually become mentally ill. Like, you realize that some parents, especially in this generation we are, parents have actually neglected their responsibility to be parents. And I mean, you've maybe given you task your kids to be managed by your house manager, or their caregiver is maybe the lady they stay with at home, and you as a parent, you go to work at 6 a.m. in the morning, or 7 or 8, and then you come back at 9 in the night. And instead of maybe having concern or maybe being attentive to what your kids are doing, you end up taking your phone or doing your things. Yani basically, parents have neglected that responsibility. And not just maybe looking out or talking to your kids, even the fact that hatuangalii what our kids are watching, we are not checking what our kids are doing, who they are going with, what are they talking about, what do they do when they are not with you. Basically, we are like, afanye venye in fact, if some of the parents feel like kids are a burden, they should not be a burden to you. In fact, you should be attentive to what they're doing. Like, I was listening to a certain story. This kid, I think aliwatch kwa cartoon ama something, I think aliwatch kwa TV, mtu akijinyonga, and akaona mtu ana commit suicide, and for him, he went and showed his friends, and he was only 9 years old. Akaenda kuonyesha watoto wengine venye mtu anajinyonga, and the other kids, they are just kids, so they thought it's a joke, and the kid died. Imagine, so tragic, so painful, so sad. So be attentive to what your kids are doing. Check what are they doing, who do they go hizo cartoons wanaona zinaambia Superman robot, mtoto ana hiyo kirobot inaruka inaanguka, and then sijui ikivunjika inarudisha. So your kid is trying to do that, and then maybe they are not able to actually do what the cartoon is doing, and they can really feel frustrated, they can really feel like a failure, which can actually affect them mentally. And another thing, even for there's another kind of attention for parents who, now they are attentive, but these kinds of parents, they are attentive with the bad things, anaangalianga tu kenye mtoto wake anafanya mbaya. So basically, they don't appreciate what their kids or what the kids are doing, which can really be frustrating to the kid and to you. Even you, it can affect you. Imagine maybe mtoto wako haperform vizuri kwa shule, so it cannot really go so well with you, and it can affect you as an individual. Another thing is childhood traumas. Childhood traumas basically are our past. Everyone has something, or let's talk about past. Like, everyone has something or someone who had them in the past, and something really serious, and we might not be able to maybe help you deal with it, but it is good you deal with it. If maybe even grief, like, I would classify that there. If you're dealing with grief, if you're dealing with loss, if you're dealing with trauma, please deal with it, because basically it's gonna affect you in the future, and it's gonna be something that you might have to deal with, because hata kama wewe haitakuaffect, it might affect other people. You might think that because someone did something to you in the past, someone is going to do that, and you might end up being mentally ill, because maybe if you're raped, if you're abused, if something bad happened to you, please deal with it. If you have to take 5 years, 4 years, years and years to deal with it, please deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, you're going to end up getting hurt. And I think we are going to talk about forgiveness, because that is something that is really hard to do, and it is delicate. Like, there's some things that we feel so hard to let go, and basically what I'm saying, you have to deal with childhood traumas if you're going through them, because it's something that can really affect you. Another factor basically is societal pressure. Ile fact that we feel like we need to meet some expectations set for us by the society. You find that like right now, you feel like especially university students or someone who is studying, you feel like, when I'm out of university, I have to have a job. If I don't have a job, then I'm going to crash down. Or you feel like your parents keep insisting, you have to do this, you have to be done, you have to be married, there's so much pressure. which can lead to mental illness, especially if you can't meet that kind of pressure, ama hujui how to do or how to meet the expectations set for you by the society. So that is another thing that leads to mental illness. Another factor is social media. Basically, I think this is something that we know, and social media, see ile tu, like we find that okay, in social media it is this fake life inatengenezwa and people are living a life which they don't actually afford. Mtu anafanya vitu tu zenye they don't actually afford, so it can really lead to frustrations, especially to you as an individual. You want to be like that person you seeing on your social media, on that Instagram, and you think that they own a big house, you think that they own a big car, na kumbe wamehaya ama they have done something. So we ukitry kujicompare kama wao, my friend, utajipata kwa shida kubwa, because you can't be able to meet that kind of that kind of lifestyle. I'm sorry. Then there is something even in social media, it's called cyberbullying. Ile unapata maybe you've what is it, maybe umepost tu kitu and then people are all over you, you don't even understand kwani what have you done, kwani kuna kitu nimesema mbaya, like you basically do not understand why that has to happen to you. So that is another reason, and social media is really really tough, and if your validation is based on social media, then you're going to actually really be frustrated. Another factor basically is self-image or self-esteem. If you have a low self-esteem, the probability of you becoming mentally ill is very high, because you want to change something about you and maybe you cannot change it. It's person, it's permanent, it's how you were born. So basically self-image is quite complicated, and self-image can low self-esteem can only be healed by self-love. So basically, if you are struggling with self-esteem, check out my first video, self-esteem issues. It's gonna help you. There's some tips I've given there, and they're going to help you to deal with that kind of a thing. So basically, self-image is when you unajiona ama how you love yourself or how you hate yourself. Basically that is self-image. Then another factor that can lead to mental illness basically is marriage pressure, work pressure, or relationship pressure. We talked about societal pressure, but there is marriage pressure, there is relationship pressure, and there is work pressure. Basically all those kinds of pressures, like you find that maybe in your work kuna pressure unapewa all the time, you feel tired, or you have to do something that basically you're not skilled in, ama unasikia tu umechoka na job. That can lead to mental illness. Then another thing is marriage pressure. Ile unapata there are some requirements maybe by your in-laws or by your partner when you're in marriage, and you cannot be able to actually fulfill them, or you cannot be able to accomplish them. That can be another reason for you to become mentally ill. So another reason also for relationship pressure, especially among millennials, ni ile unapata uko kwa na relationship and there are some things that you're expected to fulfill or accomplish simply because you're in a relationship, and maybe you cannot be able to meet them, maybe you cannot be able to do them. So it becomes quite frustrating for that individual, and it can lead to mental illness basically. Then another factor is drug abuse or drug use. A disorder called schizophrenia, I think I mentioned it, schizophrenia. It comes as a result of drug abuse, and it is basically having hallucinations. You dream about things that are not actually happening. So basically that can be another reason, and it doesn't have to be drugs zenye ati za heroin, sijui cocaine, sijui nini. Even there are people who use, there's a drug called, I don't know, Pathedon. Pathedon is a drug that is bought in medical stores, but it is addictive. In fact, when you begin to take it, it can be really bad. There is also another drug, nimesahau venye inaitwa. It is injected to reduce pain, but if you get used to using that drug, it can be really addictive. So there are some of the drugs that can lead to mental illness. So basically take care. If you're using such kind of drugs, they can lead to you becoming mentally ill. If you have to drink a drug to sleep, if you have to drink a drug to be able to carry out a certain task, then you're in great danger of becoming mentally ill. And there are also other drugs that lead to dementia. Dementia ni ile mtu anasahau. Yeah, and it's also a mental illness. So basically those are some of the factors that lead to mental illness. Also, there is another factor that can also lead to mental illness. Basically, I think I've talked about them all. Yeah, I've talked about them all. Yeah, I don't think there's another one, basically. So those are some of the factors that lead to mental illness. Please comment down below and tell me, do you think there are other kinds of factors? And basically, when we know that these are the factors, we are able to deal with these kinds of mental illness. And in the next video, we are going to be talking about how to know that someone is mentally ill, and how basically we can help someone who has become ill. Because you don't just, we think mental illness, deal with it, fanya kenye utafanya. No, these people need help, these people need support. Yes, so next video we are going to be talking about that. Please keep it locked here. Thank you so much for subscribing to this YouTube channel. Stay here, lock yourself up here. Subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Comment down below, tell me basically, what do you know about mental illness, or what would you like to know about mental illness? Because it is something that we need to talk about. Thank you so much. Remember, you cannot change everything, but you can change something.